Assalamu alaikum, Arham. Good to see you here. All right. So the main 4 topics that we have, those are the ones that I'm going to talk about, and those are the ones that I would like you to obviously revise. And by the end of it, I want you to have the confidence कि आपको ये topics आते हैं. Okay. Yeah. I just hope you guys can see this now. Yeah, I guess you can. All right. So as you know, most of the time paper is divided into 2 sections. Section A, which is compulsion, section B, which has 1 extra topic, 1 extra question that you can like skip. That's not going to be the case from this June, but it used to be in most of the exams that we have recently. So let's start with this question. Choose from the particles shown to answer the question. Okay, so what exactly are these particles? So if you see over here, we have all these numbers, and they are on the left side of the particle. Now there are some numbers that are on the right side of the particle. So each one of them has a significance. So on the left side, you can see this number up and down, ऊपर नीचे दोनों में से कोई भी हो सकता है. But the bigger number is always the nucleon number. It's the sum of everything that is inside the atom. और जो छोटा number है जो left side पे होता है, that is always the proton number. So that basically tells us which element you have. So chlorine हमेशा 17 होगा, bromine हमेशा 35 होगा when it comes to the smaller number on the side. But the bigger number can change. Bigger number depends on the isotope, ठीक है? और isotope जो हैं वो different हो सकते हैं. Isotope की definition is something you need to know. That is atoms of the same element but with different mass. Yeah, atoms of the same proton number but with different number of neutrons. Okay, so as you can see over here that we have these 2 isotopes of chlorine, and at the same time we have this one and this one. They are not different isotopes, they are the same isotope. It's just कि इस वाले के ऊपर negative charge है, और negative charge का मतलब ये हुआ कि वो anion है, it has already gained an electron. That's what this would mean. Okay, yeah. So moving on to the question, each particle can be used once, more than once, or not at all. Which particle has only 20 proton? इसका मतलब है we are looking for the one with the smaller number being 20. So यहाँ पे अगर हम देखें तो हमारा smaller number 20 ये हमें sorry, this is the bigger number 20. So this is not the one, this is the one. This has the smaller number 20. So we pick this one. So here's how you write your answer. You have to copy the thing exact as it is written. So we'll say CA and 39 and 20. I should make it smaller. Yeah, okay, much better. All right, next one. Which particle has a nucleon number of 35? That means the bigger number 35 on the left side. So bigger number 35 on the left side, this one. So we'll pick this Cl 35 and 17, exactly the way it was written over there. Moving on, which particle has the configuration 288? अब इसको करने के लिए ना हमारे पास 2-3 different methods हैं. First 288, just figure it out. 3 shells हैं, and it's in the 8th group of the 3rd row. That's what this means. 8th group of the 3rd row, क्योंकि 1, 2, 3 3 है. तो periodic table में आप देख लो 3rd row में I think argon होता है, but we don't have that here. तो हम एक और काम कर सकते हैं. 288 का टोटल मतलब क्या बनता है? 18. So pick for the one that has 18 electrons. अब electrons कैसे figure out करते हैं? Electrons is proton minus charge. That's what this is. So अगर यहाँ पे मैं देखूँ तो चार्ज हमारे पास 18 किसी का नंबर नहीं है ना, प्रोटॉन नंबर आप देखो किसी का भी 18 नहीं है. तो इसका मतलब है कि हमारे पास कोई ऐसा होगा जो चार्ज वाला होगा, क्योंकि अगर चार्ज के बगैर वाले ये सारे इनमें 18 नहीं है तो दैट्स नॉट द आंसर. सो गो फॉर द वंस दैट हैव चार्जेस. सो ये वाला और ये वाला. तो प्रोटॉन माइनस चार्ज करते हैं तो 17 माइनस -1 दैट गिव्स मी 18. इन दिस केस 8 माइनस -2 दैट गिव्स मी 10. सो दैट मीन दिस वन हैज 18 electrons. So I'm going to pick Cl minus 17, 37, and that is my answer. Okay, which particle is an atom with only 10 neutrons? 10 neutrons. इसका मतलब है कि हमें neutrons को figure out करना है. And to do that, neutron is mass minus protons, or proton plus neutron gives you the mass. So हम देख लेते हैं इनमें difference. 18 minus 8, 10. So 10 neutrons है. 20 minus 10, 10. तो 10 न्यूट्रॉन है. तो इन दोनों में से आप कोई भी आंसर दे सकते हो. सो यू कैन गिव द आंसर एज O8 and 18 with a -2 charge, or any 10 and 20. Make sure you give only one answer. Don't give 2 answers. Okay, examiner doesn't want you to give multiple answers. There's no point in doing that. Okay. All right, moving on. Which particle has a total of 18 electrons? We just figured that out. So it is chlorine 1737 with a negative charge. Don't forget the negative charge, okay? Draw the electronic structure of neon. अब neon के लिए हम क्या करेंगे कि हम periodic table में जाएंगे. Neon is in the we'll figure it out. It's in the second period and it's in the 8th group. That means second period means 2 shells. So all you have to do is draw 2 circles. Okay. In the middle, write Ne. No need to draw the nucleus. Okay. There is absolutely no requirement for that. Can you guys hear me, by the way? Yeah, I guess you can. Okay. Moving on. Electronic structure of neon. So that's going to be 2 and 8. Because again, how many electrons does it have? 10. So 2 and 8. That is the electronic structure. That's how this is. Hello, Napster. I don't know who you are, but cool name. Okay. A student sets up the apparatus shown below. Okay. Colorless fumes. We have seen this question multiple times. और ये बड़ा एक कॉमन क्वेश्चन बन गया है व्हेन इट कम्स टू द डिफ्यूजन चैप्टर. सो लेट्स सी. कलरलेस fumes of hydrogen chloride are given off by HCl. So on the left side I'm going to have colorless fumes of HCl, and on the right side over here I will have ammonia. So they are both soaked in the solution, and then obviously there is going to be evaporation, और evaporation के बाद वो diffuse होगा. अब डिफ्यूज़ वो किस तरफ होगा? वो किसी भी तरफ डिफ्यूज़ हो सकता है. इट डिफ्यूजेज इन ऑल डायरेक्शन, बट यहाँ पे ऊपर, लेफ्ट, राइट सब कुछ ब्लॉक्ड है. इसका मतलब है कि देयर इज ओनली वन डायरेक्शन इन विच इट कैन डिफ्यूज ओवरऑल. सिमिलरली ऑन दिस साइड ये पूरा एरिया ब्लॉक्ड है, तो दिस शुड डिफ्यूज ऑन दिस साइड. Now the rate of diffusion or the speed of diffusion, it varies depending on 2 factors. The mass, कि वो कितना heavy है, और दूसरा कि temperature कितना. So अब इन दोनों का टेम्परेचर तो सेम है, तो इसका मतलब हुआ कि द ओनली थिंग दैट्स गोइंग टू मैटर इज विच वन हैवियर एंड विच वन स्लोअर. द वन दैट इज हैवियर इज गोइंग टू बी द स्लोअर, एंड द वन दैट इज लाइटर इज गोइंग टू बी द फास्टर. सो इस तरह के क्वेश्चन में इट्स ऑलवेज अ गुड आइडिया टू फिगर आउट द MR राइट अवे. सो दिस इज 17, oh sorry, not 17, ammonia is 17. Yeah, so ammonia NH3, that is 17, and HCl is 36.5 if I'm not wrong. Yeah. And after a few seconds, white fumes were seen at point X. Name the compound formed at point X. Now, in most schools, names and formulas are done after the midterm. So I guess this question will not be in your school, but ammonium chloride, that's the name. And in case you do not remember how to write it, that's perfectly fine. अभी आपने शायद जनवरी में आप पढ़ोगे कि नाम कैसे रखते हैं chemically. Now, use the kinetic theory to explain this observation. Now, the key point is understanding कि this observation से उसका क्या मतलब है. This observation से उसका ये मतलब है कि HCl क्यों evaporate हो रहा है, या this observation से उसका मतलब है कि ये white fumes क्यों आ रहे हैं. And that is the thing. White fumes at point X. These are the 2 important parts that you need to be able to answer. पहली बात है white fumes क्यों बनेंगे? Because ammonia and HCl are going to react together when they collide. और X पे क्यों बनेंगे, ये क्वेश्चन है. ठीक है. सो इस क्वेश्चन को हम आंसर इस तरह से कर सकते हैं दैट ओवर हेयर X is very close to the side of HCl and really far away from the side of ammonia, which shows that ammonia moves much faster than HCl. And why is that? Clearly that is because of the MR. So we'll say that ammonia molecules diffuse faster because it has lower MR than HCl. Now the reason I'm comparing this is because मुझे ये बताना है कि X पे आने का मतलब ये है कि ammonia has traveled more and HCl has traveled less. So there's a comparison involved, and make sure that whenever you do a comparison you mention both the things. So in this case I mentioned that ammonia has a lower MR than HCl. मैं खाली lower MR भी लिख सकता था, but I would make sure that मैं पूरा लिखूं just so there's no confusion. Okay? Yeah. The student repeated the experiment using a solution of methylamine. Okay, so in this case methylamine is given. Again, I would advise you to quickly calculate the MR. So this one's going to be 31. Yeah. Use the periodic table, take your time. This one is 17, as I already know. The white fumes were now seen at point Y instead of point X. Okay, so they are at point Y. Clearly, this thing is no longer HCl, it is methylamine, and methylamine is traveling relatively faster than HCl. अभी भी अमोनिया तेज है, but methylamine जो है वो उतना ज़्यादा it's not lagging behind. And is it ammonia that they've replaced? Oh yeah, they've replaced ammonia. So HCl is going to come from this side and methylamine is going to come from this side. So ammonia की जगह methylamine. So clearly the difference in their MR is not that much. इसका मतलब है कि methylamine is slower than ammonia. क्योंकि the Y point has moved closer to this side. पहले X point पे था, तो it was further away from this side, right side. But अब वो Y पे आ गया. That means the point is closer to the middle, and it shows कि this is also slowing down. क्योंकि जिससे वो जितना दूर होगा उतना वो चीज़ तेज़ है. So this is closer to this side now. पहले वो इस side पे थोड़ा सा दूर था. So this shows कि methylamine is slower, and that's what you were talk about. Now here's the thing, when they explain this difference, they're not saying कि HCl और methylamine आपस में Y पे क्यों आ रहे हैं. The difference is basically कि ammonia और methylamine का point X और point Y का difference क्यों आया. So we'll say that methylamine, and if you don't know how to like mention the whole name, you can just use the formula. Methylamine has higher MR, again I've compared it, than ammonia, so travels slower, and that's what I will say. Okay, moving on. Magnesium bromide and sodium oxide are both ionic compounds. You don't need to remember the formulas at this stage again, grade 9 students. तो अभी देखते हैं. Complete the following table. Protons, neutrons, electrons. Again, we have two equations. One is protons plus neutrons make mass, and protons minus electrons make charge. Okay. So over here, 12 minus 2 will give me the electrons, and the proton number and the atomic number are the same thing, so it is still 12. Mass number is the sum of these two numbers, so it's 24. Clear? Now, here's the thing. In the next one, again we will use the same two equations. Equations क्या है? Proton plus neutron gives you mass, and charge is basically proton minus electron. Okay, these are the two main equations that we have in this chapter. So in this over here we already know the atomic number, we know the charge, so electrons are 35 minus 1, so it's going to be 36. Proton number is the same as the atomic number, and neutrons are going to be 81 minus 35. So this one I guess is 46, sorry 46. Is it? I need a calculator. Yeah, 46. Always double check, okay? जल्दी में आंसर नहीं देते. All right. Okay, moving on. Draw diagrams to show the electronic configuration and charges of the ions present in sodium oxide. अब यहाँ पे एक चीज़ आपने ध्यान में रखनी है. आयंस को जब भी आप ड्रॉ करते हो स्क्वायर ब्रैकेट्स लगानी होती हैं, आपने चार्ज लिखना होता है, और देख लेना कि उसने आयंस का बोला है. दैट मीन्स सोडियम आयन एंड ऑक्साइड आयन दोनों का आप ड्रॉ करोगे. कई दफ़ा क्या होता है, वो क्वेश्चन में आपको किसी का एटम और किसी का आयन बोल देता है. सो यू हैव टू रीड द क्वेश्चन केयरफुली. सो इन दिस केस सोडियम ऑक्साइड, सो सोडियम आयन इज Na with a +1 charge. Why +1? Group 1 में it has 1 electron in the last shell, so it will be +1. Oxide O with a -2 charge. Why? Because oxygen is in group 16 or group 6, and it will gain 2 electrons to become like noble gas in terms of electrons, so O2 minus. So now sodium, it has 11 protons from the periodic table मैं देख सकता हूँ, and it has lost 1, so that means 10 protons, or 10 electrons. Similarly oxygen has 8 electrons, और इसने 2 gain करने, because again proton minus electron is charge, so proton minus charge will be the electrons. Again मैं यही equation use कर रहा हूँ बार बार, and that will give me 10 electrons. So oxygen in the middle, I have one circle for first shell, second circle for the second shell, so 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 जो इसके अपने, and 2 that it gained from something, and then square brackets for the -2 charge. Similarly, for the sake of sodium, I will show again 2 shells because it is 281, लेकिन वो एक lose हो गया ना. So this gives me 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10, and there you go. That is my sodium ion. Don't forget to put the square brackets. If you do, you might risk losing an electron, risk losing a mark. Explain why magnesium bromide has a high melting point. ज़रा देखते हैं. You have ions, right? Those ions have charges, and wherever there are charges, there are strong forces of attraction or repulsion. So in the case of positive and negative charges, strong forces of attraction. तो यहाँ पर भी strong forces of attraction है. So what does that have to do with melting point? Melting point का मतलब ये है कि you have broken the forces, and to do that you need to supply energy. तो जितनी ज़्यादा strong forces होंगी उतनी ज़्यादा energy चाहिए. ठीक है? So that's what we'll say, that magnesium bromide, you don't need to write the formula if you don't remember it. That's perfectly fine. Also don't write whatever is already in the question. ठीक है? बस directly answer बताओ. So you'll say that it has strong forces of attraction between ions. It's always a good idea to mention कि वो force of attraction है किसके बीच में, which requires high energy to be broken. Okay, so it's always a good idea to talk about the whole thing. Although even if you just say strong force of attraction between ions, आपको mark तो एक मिल ही जाएगा. I totally understand what you're talking about, chicken biryani, but let's just work on it. And कोई मुश्किल चीज़ ऐसी नहीं है जो आप मेहनत करो तो वो आसान ना हो जाए. Explain why sodium oxide does not conduct electricity. This is a key point when it comes to this chapter. Anything will conduct electricity as long as it has ions or electrons which are free. So अगर वो free ions हैं, free electrons हैं, it will conduct electricity. That's not the case here. Sodium oxide is an ionic compound. There is a strong lattice. That means कि वो move नहीं कर सकते इतने ज़्यादा. And that means that they are stuck to their place, which means they can't conduct electricity. And that's what we will say. It has no free ions. Key point is to write ions. Do not say that it is electrons, because if you do say that it's electrons, that means आपने ये ionic compound को नहीं समझा. आपने समझा कि ये proton, ये metal है या ये graphite है, which is not the case. Okay. Predict two physical properties of sodium oxide. Physical properties में क्या आता है? Does it conduct electricity or not? Does it have high or low melting point? Is it soft or hard? These kind of things, they are part of the physical properties. Chemical properties में आपके पास आता है color, and that's an important aspect of ionic compounds made of transition metals. Over here you don't have transition metal. Secondly, उसने physical property का पूछा है, तो we'll just say it has high melting point and it does not conduct as a solid. It's important to mention as a solid because if the lattice breaks, it still has ions and now they're free. So बिजली conduct करेगा. Another one is that it may dissolve in water to conduct electricity. Sodium oxide does dissolve, but in grade 9 you are not expected to know what dissolves and what not. So you can say that it dissolves in water, or it is more likely to dissolve in water compared to anything that is. So here's what we say: it is more likely to dissolve in water than non-polar solvents or organic solvents. That's also something you can write about. Okay. The metal tungsten is used to make wire filaments in light bulbs. Okay, the wire glows when electricity passes through it. Okay, so we have metal. That's the key point here. It's a metal. The physical properties of tungsten can be explained in terms of metallic bond. Describe with the aid of a label diagram. Label diagram is important. The metallic bonding in tungsten. Now it doesn't matter whether it's tungsten or silver or zinc or whatever they talk about. As long as you have to mention metallic bond, here's what you should do. Draw 3 ions they're all positive ions, okay, and they should not be touching each other, okay, बिल्कुल साथ साथ बनाने, but they shouldn't be touching because these are positive ions and positive ions repel each other. So just mention the positive charge, okay. Now copy this part. Now make 3 rows just like that. You can make more, but at least 3, okay. Now you have to put free electrons there. The key point is that the electrons are free, so they have no fixed arrangement. These ions have fixed arrangement. So you can draw electrons in the middle, on the sides, just make sure that they're randomly scattered around, and you should not draw a pattern there somewhere. Okay, so good enough. Now we have to label it. So we'll say that this is free electron, and this one is cation. So clearly what you have done is you have shown 3 layers of cations that are obviously in fixed arrangement and free electrons and randomly scattered electrons. So this is clearly the structure of most metals. अब अगली बात है metallic bonding की बात करनी है हमने. तो we will say that there is metallic bonding. Now every bond is a strong force of attraction between 2 things, और वो positive और negative चीज़ों के बीच में होती है. So over here we'll say metallic bonding is strong force of attraction between, now it's important to mention one positive thing and one negative thing. So the positive thing over here is cations and the negative thing over here is free electrons, and as long as you mention all of that, you are good to go. That's metallic bond. अच्छा, since we are on the topic, ionic bond क्या होती है? Ionic bond is a strong force of attraction. अब मुझे एक positive और एक negative चीज़ बतानी है. So between cation and anion, okay, covalent bond, and that's a tricky one. Many students don't answer that correctly. So covalent bond is the strong force of attraction. मुझे एक positive चीज़ बतानी है, एक negative चीज़ बतानी है. The positive part is the nucleus and the negative part is the shared electrons. So covalent bond is the force of attraction or strong force of attraction between 2 nuclei and shared electrons. Okay, so all of that will help us figure out what the metallic bond is or covalent bond is. Or now a common mistake is students कहते हैं कि covalent bond is the bond formed by sharing of electrons. Sure, there's nothing wrong with that, but that's the history of that thing, na? That's not what the bond is. That's just telling me कि वो बनती कैसे है. What exactly is the bond? It's like saying ionic bond is the bond formed by transfer of electron. Sure, उसमें कुछ गलत नहीं है, but then again, वो है क्या? वो तो आप मुझे बताओ. So metallic bond is the strong force of attraction between cations and free electrons. Ionic bond is between cations and anions or positive and negative ions. And covalent bond is the force of attraction between 2 nuclei and the shared electrons that they have. Okay, so I hope that that's clear. Moving on, use this structure, the one that you just draw, to explain how tungsten conducts electricity. बहुत आसान, textbook question, textbook answer, that it has free electrons. And there you go. You can clearly see कि आपने diagram में बताया मैं. So there's 2 other properties of tungsten. Again, physical properties हैं. There's strong force of attraction, which implies high melting point, and it's the same as being high density. Okay. At the same time, there are layers, so it can be malleable, it is ductile, it is soft. Write any one of them. High melting point और high density दोनों की reason है कि उसमें strong force of attraction. So इन दोनों में से एक आपने लिखनी है. Malleable, ductile और soft के पीछे रीजन ये है कि उसमें लेयर्स हैं, तो इन तीनों में से भी आपने एक ही लिखनी है. दोनों तीनों लिखने का फायदा नहीं होगा because they will still count as one. Okay, moving on. In a light bulb, the tungsten wire may get so hot that it melts and breaks. Interestingly, when I gave this question to my students, most of them thought that melting and breaking were not connected together, which was quite surprising for me. क्योंकि लोग क्या करते थे, वो सोच रहे थे कि अच्छा मेल्ट करेगा, उसका बॉयल करेगा तो तब ब्रेक करेगा, which is, if you think about it, that's wrong, right? So I guess that they did not think hard enough. So it's simply that whenever it melts, the connection breaks down. So that's what's happening. Use the graph to give the boiling point of tungsten. Oh, maybe that's why they got confused, that we asked them about the boiling point. So boiling point, again, this is a heat curve. You have solid here, liquid here, gas here. The key point to understand is that when temperature changes, state does not change. So it's one of the two, either or, state or temperature. So यहाँ पे temperature solid ही है, temperature change हो रहा है. Over here, temperature is not changing. That means state is the same. So यहाँ पे solid है, यहाँ पे liquid है, यहाँ पे gas है, but यहाँ पर melting हो रही है, यहाँ पे boiling हो रही है. Okay, so what's the state over here? Over here, the state is solid and liquid, and there's an equilibrium that is going to be established. Similarly, this is liquid and gas, both of them. Okay, so some of it has become gas, some of it is becoming gas. So that's the process. So that's a heating curve. So all you have to do is, and remember, every time they give you a graph, I know that some of you are really good at graphs and they're able to read the graph right away, but to give the examiner evidence कि आपने काम किया है और आपने ग्राफ को यूज़ किया है, I would always suggest कि आप एक line draw करें. Okay, that line will help the examiner figure out कि हाँ इस बच्चे ने कैसे ही आंसर लिया जो इसने आंसर लिया. So over here my answer is going to be what? 5600. So that's my answer. Boiling point is 5600 degrees Celsius. Don't forget the unit. Predict the temperature when the wire breaks. So clearly उसने ऊपर लिखा हुआ है melts and breaks. इसका मतलब है कि जहाँ पे वो melt करेगा वहीं पे break करेगा. तो melting point क्या है उसका? Again draw a line. Okay, so it's a straight line that's 3400 if I'm not wrong. So 3400 degrees Celsius. And that is good enough. And we have mentioned कि वो कैसे melt करती है, कैसे boil करती है. Okay? Okay, question number 6 of the first section. Astatine is an element in group 7. Okay, the table shows some information about two isotopes of astatine. Again, remember the definition of isotope, common definition that examiner usually asks us for. In fact, ये अगले question में पूछा भी है उसने. So number of protons, number of neutrons, I've already explained that to you. How do you figure this out? So the smaller number on the left side is the proton number and the larger number is the mass number. You subtract them, you get the neutrons. So over here it will be 85, 85, 85 again, 85 again, and then 210 minus 85. तो जो भी आंसर आएगा, और ये 210 minus 85 होगा और ये 211 minus 85 होगा. Whatever the answer is, just write that. What is meant by the term isotope? So again, what's isotope? It is the atoms. Remember, these are atoms of same element. You can say that, or you can say same proton number or number of protons with different, you can say atomic mass or mass number or number of neutrons. Okay, so you, as long as you mention one of them, that one of these things, इन दोनों में से कोई एक और इन दोनों में से कोई एक, तीनों में से कोई एक, then you're good to go. Astatine forms a diatomic molecule. Remember, there is an inverted L in the periodic table about the diatomic molecules. So there is hydrogen, sure, and then there is nitrogen, oxygen, fluorine, chlorine, bromine, iodine, astatine. Okay, so that's an inverted L or 7 if you were, and that is basically telling you about all the elements that are diatomic at room temperature and pressure. So let's just draw the diagram. So astatine is in group 7. That means you just need to draw the last shell. So again, it's a diatomic thing. So there's going to be 2 of these. Okay, and they're going to share some of them electrons. So AT, no need to draw the circle of the nucleus, no need to do that. They're in group 7, so इसका मतलब है उन्होंने एक share करना. So 1 here and 1 here. Now they're left with 6. Remember, 7 में से एक share हो गया, you're left with 6. So 6 on this side. And there you go. That's good enough. Astatine reacts with magnesium to form magnesium astatite, which contains magnesium ion and astatite ion. डिस्क्राइब का मतलब है कि आपने रीजन नहीं देनी, बस बताना है उसके बारे में. हाउ अ मैग्नीशियम आयन एंड एन एसिटाइड आयन आर फॉर्म्ड फ्रॉम अ मैग्नीशियम एटम एंड एसिटाइड एटम. Really straightforward. You have the charges already, and charges tell you a lot about the electrons. So we'll say magnesium atom loses or donates 2 electrons. Yeah, each magnesium atom donates 2 electrons. Notice that this is a 2-mark question. That means 1 mark is for telling कि कितने electrons हैं, और second mark is for telling कि कहाँ से कहाँ जा रहे हैं. So second one will be each AT atom gains, or you can also say accepts 1 electron, and you're good to go. Okay, so there you go. That is going to answer how the ions are formed. Again, these ions, once they're formed, they're going to form an ionic compound. लेकिन अभी तक ionic bonding हुई नहीं है. It's just the transfer of electron. जब वो उसके बाद they come together, they form a lattice. वो सारा case जो है ना, that is your metallic bonding. Okay, so now we're done with those questions. Now we have this one. The structure of diamond and graphite are drawn below. Okay, diamond and graphite हमारे सामने है. Diamond is on the left side. You have lattice, you have tetrahedral lattice. On the right side you have layers. Layers के बीच में weak force of attraction है. Lattice में बहुत strong force of attraction है. तो diamond का melting point बहुत high होगा. Lattice का melting point relatively low होगा, लेकिन इतना low नहीं होगा. मतलब दोनों का टेक्निकली दोनों का ही हाई होना चाहिए, बिकॉज दे आर बोथ जॉइंट स्ट्रक्चर्स. ग्राफाइट हैज 3 bonds. इफ यू नोटिस दैट एवरी एटम इज बॉन्ड टू 1, 2 and 3 कार्बन एटम्स, बट कार्बन में तो 4 इलेक्ट्रॉन्स होते हैं. दैट मीन्स द 4th इलेक्ट्रॉन फॉर एवरी सिंगल एटम is free, and if it is free it conducts electricity. In the case of diamond, every atom has 4 bonds. That means they're not free. Okay, and there you go. Question is it necessary to state whether electrostatic or intermolecular forces are present? Now, in any bond, you're going to have electrostatic forces. ये भूल जाएंगे intermolecular force is a bond. It's not for O levels or IGCSE. Intermolecular force, there's only one case where that's important. Melting or boiling of covalent molecules. ठीक है? So, state change हो रही हो और मॉलिक्यूल्स हों कोवलेंट, तो तब जाके इंटरमोलेकुलर फोर्स आती है. बट इन एवरी अदर केस इट इज इलेक्ट्रोस्टैटिक फोर्स. अच्छा, सिमिलरली कभी भी बॉन्ड को डिफाइन करते हुए आपको इंटरमोलेकुलर फोर्स की बात करने की जरूरत नहीं है. ना कोवलेंट बॉन्ड में इंटरमोलेकुलर फोर्स होती है, ना आयनिक में, ना मेटेलिक में. इन तीनों में स्ट्रॉन्ग फोर्स ऑफ अट्रैक्शन होती है, एंड दैट्स व्हाट यू शुड राइट. आप इलेक्ट्रोस्टैटिक का नाम ही ना लो, देयर इज नो नीड फॉर दैट. जस्ट मेंशन दैट there is strong force of attraction. और मैंने आपको बताया that every bond is between positive and negative things. So intermolecular force is never between positive and negative things. Intermolecular force is always between molecules. वो तो neutral होते हैं. So इस वजह से intermolecular force is only going to be there when you have state change of molecular compounds or molecular substances. Name the type of bond shown. भाई covalent bond. Okay. Diamond has a melting point of 37, graphite has 3300. Why both diamond and that have high melting point? So why do they have high melting point? Because they have strong bonds. There's strong force of attraction between these atoms. और ये कहाँ से आ रही है? ये कोवलेंट बॉन्ड है, ये उनके शेयर्ड इलेक्ट्रॉन्स की बॉन्ड है जो उनके साथ न्यूक्लियस ने बनाई हुई है. इसमें इंटरमोलेकुलर का कोई जिक्र नहीं करना. सो दे हैव बोथ हैव स्ट्रॉन्ग forces of attraction, or if you don't want to write that, you can say strong bonds. Again, intermolecular force सिर्फ simple molecular substances में होती है और कहीं भी नहीं होती, which requires high energy to break, or which require. By the way, गलत इंग्लिश में मार्क्स नहीं वो काटता. Suggest why the melting point of graphite is lower than that of diamond. Again, you can clearly see diamond has more bonds, graphite has lesser bonds, and that is why the melting point varies. So each atom in diamond Don't say diamond has 4 bonds. No, diamond doesn't have 4 bonds. Diamond में तो इतने अन्य bonds हैं. In diamond has 4 covalent bonds, but 3 in case of graphite. So obviously, if you need to break lesser bonds, you need lesser energy, even if they're equally strong. Compare the electrical conductivity of diamond and graphite. You have to compare of both. So a common mistake would be कि मैं सिर्फ graphite की बात करूँ और उसकी बात ही ना करूँ दूसरे की. Okay? So please make sure कि आप उन दोनों की बात करें. Okay? Hello. Okay, compare the electrical conductivity. So diamond doesn't conduct, but graphite does. You have to talk about both of them. Sometimes students एक की बात करते हैं और दूसरे को वो नहीं लिखते. Make sure you are not one of those students. Okay, and the reason is that graphite. So, or as I said, each atom of graphite has 1 free electrons, but no free electrons in the case of diamond. So just mention that in your own words. Boron nitride exists in 2 physical forms, and you can clearly see कि ये दोनों forms हैं, they're very similar to the ones in diamond and graphite. These 2 forms resemble 2 allotropes of carbon. So allotrope क्या होता था? Allotrope is same state, same element, different structure. Same state, same element, different structure. So carbon है, same element है, solid है, same state है, but एक structure graphite का है, उसमें layers हैं, एक structure diamond का, उसमें layers नहीं है, tetrahedral structure है. Suggest why boron nitride with structure A can be used as lubricant. Again, हमने तो boron nitride का पहली दफा सुना है, but we do know about graphite, right? So this is it is analogous to graphite for us, and this is analogous to diamond for us. So जो diamond की properties हैं, we'll say कि इसमें भी वही होंगी. जो graphite की properties हैं, इसमें भी we'll assume कि वही होंगी. So we'll say that boron nitride with structure A can be used as lubricants because it has layers with weak forces between them, or layers that can slide. Okay, and that's what we'll say. Ayan, your answer is graphite conducts electricity, however diamond does not conduct electricity. This is because graphite has a free mobile electron that can move between layers. So I would just advise that you write, this is because each atom in graphite has a free mobile electron. Okay, because graphite mein to there's going to be billions of electrons, but each atom in graphite has that. Okay, suggest why boron nitride with structure B can be used in cutting tools and drill bits. Again, this is analogous to diamond for us. उसमें भी तो ये होता था. So we'll say that it has many covalent bonds, or many covalent bonds ही कह देते हैं, या many forces of attraction which make it hard or which make it rigid, so it can conduct us. So we'll say that it has many covalent bonds, making it hard or rigid. Okay, so it makes it easy to use it in cutting tools. Okay, when liquid evaporates at room temperature, it changes into a gas. Okay, the diagram shows the arrangement of the particles in a liquid. Okay, so हमें इसको draw करना है. This is, I guess, from IGCSE. So बस आपने randomly इनको place कर देना. Make sure there is no order. Don't put them all in the corners. Just make sure there is no order. Okay. So I will in fact move this to a side just to show कि कोई order नहीं है. Describe का मतलब है कि आपने उसको बताना है कि वो क्या है, उसकी reason नहीं देनी. So movement of particles in a gas, they are free and random. That's the movement. You can also say just free. Explain why heating a liquid causes it to evaporate more quickly. So again, what is evaporation? Evaporation is when high energy molecules escape the liquid from the surface. High energy molecules escape the liquid from the surface. Okay, so over here we'll simply say that why heating a liquid causes it to evaporate more quickly, because there is greater number of high energy molecules Why? Because you have just given them heat, energy, right? Molecules or particles that can escape from the surface. Okay, so that's the thing. Particles don't have temperature, particles don't have heat, they have kinetic energy. Okay, so we say high kinetic energy, so they can escape from the surface. The compound with formula H2O can exist in 3 states of matter. The names of these are given. In which state are particles the furthest apart? Obviously gas, so steam. Okay, in which state do the particles have the least energy? That is when they're solid, right? So ice. In which state are the particles in a regular pattern? Again, ice. Change of state 1, that is melting, and this one is freezing, this one is boiling, this one is condensation. Don't say that this is evaporation, because the whole thing changing that state, that's boiling. Evaporation is just for a part of it. Which change is sublimation from steam to ice or ice to steam? Although steam to ice को deposition कहते हैं, but O levels and IGCSE में both can work. Okay, and this one is about the ATP section of the exam. We are almost towards the end of it. Your question is, what about melting point and boiling point? What about them? Could you elaborate on that? Okay, a molecule contains 4 amino acid units. These amino acid units are linked in the same way as in a protein. Okay, a sample of this molecule is broken down, hydrolyzed. Okay, we don't need to know, this is all a story. The resulting colorless solution, that's a key point. Colorless solution is spotted onto chromatography. Chromatography में तो colors होते थे, यहाँ colorless का वो क्या कर रहा है? Obviously वो बाद में locating agent use करेगा. Okay, so we need to make a mental note of that. The paper is placed onto a suitable solvent. The diagram is shown. Okay, so clearly we have the initial line, baseline. This is the solvent front, और ये हमारे पास different spots आ गए. Suggest why the initial line is drawn in pencil and not ink, so that it doesn't dissolve, right? So we'll say that pencil will not dissolve, or the line with pencil will not dissolve. Not dissolve, because chromatography, if it was ink, it will also spread out. Draw a line to show the depth of solvent into which the paper was placed. Now again, just remember, it can be any depth as long as it is below the initial line. So initial line से अगर नीचे है तो that's fine, अगर उससे ऊपर चली गई है तो that is going to be a problem. So just mention it here somewhere. यहाँ लिखते हैं, यहाँ लिखते हैं. Anywhere that's less than that. Suggest how the chromatogram needs to be treated to make the spots visible. So we'll say using a locating agent. No need to remember what a locating agent, like a name of a locating agent, just remember it's used to make sure that you can get spots of colorless things. Suggest a reason why only 3 spots are detected on the final chromatogram. उसमें 4 amino acids थे और 3 आए हैं. So it could mean that 2 of them are the same amino acid. It could also mean that one of them is insoluble. But वो insoluble वाला हमारे सामने अभी तक उसने दिखाया नहीं है. वो अगर होता तो वो यहाँ पे 4th spot होता. So we'll say that 2 of them are the same amino acid. Okay. The R-f value of some amino acids is shown. State how an R-f value is calculated. So it's the formula. We'll say R-f value is distance traveled by solute over distance traveled by solvent. Now, if I were to show this on a diagram, then the solute is basically, let's suppose I want to figure it out from this point, then it is this distance divided by this whole distance. Okay, so these are, so if this was A and this was B, my R-f value for this point would be A over B. Okay, every point will have its own R-f value and every different substance will have its own R-f value. Okay, state which one is present on the chromatogram out of these. Okay, let's see. Remember, द RF वैल्यू इज अ मेजर ऑफ के अगर ये 100% है ना ये पूरा डिस्टेंस, तो उसने कितना डिस्टेंस ट्रैवल किया. तो ऑल यू हैव टू डू इज लुक एट द नंबर्स हेयर और यू कैन कैलकुलेट इट एज वेल. तो लेट्स सपोज मुझे लगता है कि यहाँ पर ये 50% के करीब हैं ये दोनों जो है ना. तो आई गेस वन दैट इज क्लोजर टू दिस वुड बी phenylalanine, this one, and valine could be, leucine could be, depending on if I take this to be 0.73, अगर इसकी 0.73 आ जाती है, so I'll take the ruler, I'll take the measurements, जो भी मेरे पास closest answers होंगे मैं वो लिख दूंगा. Your question is that for diamonds for cutting tools, strong covalent bond can high melting and boiling points be written. I guess that heat is provided when you cut tools, and if it doesn't melt, it's an advantage. So yeah, you can mention that, I guess. Mixtures can be separated in various ways depending on the physical properties. A student is supplied with two different mixtures. The first is a mixture of two solids, sodium chloride and sand. Clearly, sodium chloride is soluble, sand is insoluble. The second is a mixture of two liquids with different boiling points, ethanol and butanol. Different boiling points का मतलब ये हुआ कि मैं यहाँ पे फ्रैक्शनल डिस्टिलेशन कर सकता हूँ. एंड सोडियम क्लोराइड एंड सैंड का मतलब ये हुआ कि मैं यहाँ पे डिजॉल्विंग देन फिल्ट्रेशन उससे उसको सेपरेट कर सकता हूँ. सो फर्स्ट स्टेप, डिजॉल्व इन वाटर. Why water? Because one of them is soluble in water and one is not. If this was something that was soluble in ethanol, then I would mention dissolve in ethanol. Dissolve in water. Then make sure you don't forget that point. Sometimes students just get excited कि ये तो आता है, वो dissolve वाला part लिखना भूल जाते हैं. So dissolve in water. Next step would be that you'll filter it out. So filter, and then you already, once you filter it out, you have sand as a residue, right? So just make sure that you mention filter and collect and dry sand as a residue. Like अगर वो नहीं भी लिखोगे तो मार्क्स नहीं वो लूज करेंगे आप. But I always think that along with getting marks, we should also be writing good chemistry. So this is good chemistry, okay? And then evaporate or the filtrate, or you can say heat the filtrate to constant mass. Why constant mass? Because मुझे crystals नहीं चाहिए, मुझे solid sodium chloride चाहिए. So मैं इसको heat the filtrate to constant mass लिख दूंगा. तो heat the filtrate to constant mass, and that will give me to collect sodium chloride. Okay, all right. Ethanol and butanol, these both of them, they have different boiling point. They already told us that. So we'll say that heat the mixture in a boiling flask. Again, good chemistry, not necessary for exams. In fact, I would suggest कि आप यहाँ पे diagram भी बनाओ. So यहाँ पे अगर मैं इसको diagram बनाता हूँ, so it will be a fractionating column, and then there will be a condenser. I will draw the diagram in there. ठीक है? And of course, I need to put a thermometer and seal this thing. Okay, seal this thing as well. Okay, and then heat from here. This is my mixture, water in, water out. All of that is just telling me fractional distillation in a boiling flask fitted with fractionating column. As shown. If I say as shown, that tells the examiner कि भाई हर चीज़ पता है मुझे, मैं सब आपको बता सकता हूँ. And because you know कि आपको ये सब कुछ पता है, आपका आंसर 100% ठीक होगा. Even if you miss out something while writing it down, अभी भी आप उसको बता सकते हैं. फ्रैक्शनिंग कॉलम का मतलब ये एग्जामिनर को पता लग गया है कि आप एक फ्रैक्शनल डिस्टिलेशन की बात करें. यू आर वेलकम एंड थैंक यू सो मच फॉर योर अप्रिसिएशन. ओके, एंड नाउ वी विल कलेक्ट. सो कलेक्ट ethanol and change the beaker once the temperature rises from its boiling point. ये मैंने क्या बात की है? Basically, ethanol has the one that has 2 carbon atoms. Again, O3 students might know this, or O1 O2 students को नहीं पता होगा. It's fine, perfectly fine, कोई issue नहीं है. The one that with the lower boiling point is going to be collected first. So पहले वो आप कलेक्ट करोगे, और जो आपका हायर बॉइलिंग पॉइंट वाला होगा वो आप बाद में कलेक्ट करोगे. तो आपको कैसे पता चलेगा कि सारे का सारा लो बॉइलिंग पॉइंट वाला कलेक्ट हो गया? द टेम्परेचर विल राइज. हमने ऊपर एक क्वेश्चन में देखा था कि जब तक वो हीट हो रहा था, इफ आई एम नॉट रॉन्ग, या दिस वन, जब तक वो बॉयल हो रहा था टेम्परेचर फिक्स था. एथेनॉल के केस में भी ऐसे ही होगा. अगर यही चीज़ मैं एथेनॉल और ब्यूटेनॉल पे लगाऊं, सो पहले एथेनॉल बॉयल होगा और उसके बाद टेम्परेचर राइज करेगा, और फिर ब्यूटेनॉल बॉयल होना शुरू होगा, तो फिर टेम्परेचर फिक्स हो जाएगा. सो दैट इज़ हाउ fractional distillation works, that you collect them based on their boiling points. Okay, all right, where was I? And yeah, we are done with the question. Yeah, any questions? I hope that this was helpful और आपका पूरा रिवाइज हो गया होगा, I'm hoping. और अगर कोई क्वेश्चन है तो feel free to WhatsApp them to me, or you can also post them in here. All right. Okay then, thank you so much for watching, and I hope to do more live classes with you later on. Take care. Allah Hafiz.